would like to do a quick introduction of yourself, why you're here, and then you can say, okay, now we're going to go on to the third principle, the honoring the game piece.
Okay, so let me think about what I want to say. Okay,
Well,
so
it would be basically what you would say for your intro.
okay,
You know, it doesn't have to be too rehearsed, but I just think it's good to practice telling your story
okay,
because that's what the coaches want to connect to, as you heard me say to Carolyn. I think that's really important for the coaches to know, who are you? Why are you here? Are you just some guy that coaches, or do you really have a reason that we should be listening to and a reason that you're here?
okay, okay. I'm ready.
Okay. All right, we're ready too.
Okay, here we
Have
go.
fun.
All right. So good evening, coaches. Welcome to the Positive Coaching Alliance Double Go Coach Workshop. My name is Scott Densen, and I'm a retired Army guy. I did 26 years in the United States Army, and I got into coaching as I was transitioning out of the military. My daughter was around the age of 4 or 5, and I put her on I signed her up for soccer, and I was the dad that was trying to assist the coach. The coach was coaching by herself, so I was the dad that was trying to help the coach. And about 4 or 5 games into the season, the coach wound up getting into a physical fight with one of the parents, and she was suspended from the league. So all of us parents, we showed up that following week for practice, and the parents were like, "Well, you've kind of been helping her, so why don't you be the coach?" So that's how I got my start. I initially came out there and wanted to be out there because I wanted to build a bond with my daughter. But I would tell you that it's been an absolute joy interacting with other kids, and that's a way for me to give back to the community. I actually coach soccer, basketball, and softball. So them are the things that I enjoy doing. So coaches, right now we're going to transition into the third principle, which is honoring the game. So honoring the game gets to the roots of positive competition. So here at PCA, we created an acronym, which is ROOTS, ROOTS, to help coaches get to the positive competition. And, when you think about rules, it's pretty self-explanatory. We feel that when it comes to rules, we want to follow the letter and spirit of the rules and not bend the rules when it comes to winning or competing in sports. The O is in reference to opponents. PCA believes that opponents are actually a gift. Playing a worthy opponent is only going to make you better as a team and make your players better. So, you want to honor your opponent. Oh, the other O stands for officials. And we all know, just based on our coaching experiences, we've seen the time that officials have officiated any game. They get an earful from the parents. So they don't need us as coaches giving them a hard time as well. So, and at the end of the day, when you think about it, our kids are watching us and the parents are watching us as coaches, and they get their cue from us on how we interact with officials. So we want to honor the officials by allowing them to referee the game. Excuse me. When it comes to the T, it's about teammates. And, we want our kids that are on our teams, we want them to be good teammates. We don't want them doing things that's going to bring discredit or embarrass our team. So we want to encourage kids to be good teammates. And, when I think about, teammates, have any of you coaches ever had a kid that is your best athlete, but he or she may actually be your worst teammate?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's not easy. And the S deals with self. At the end of the day, we want everybody to take accountability on our team. And we want people to understand that it is important that we always do what's right. That's always more important than anything else. So standing up and doing what's right when it comes to yourself and being accountable is important. So coaches, now let's take a look at this scenario. So if you would, look at the scenario that I have up on the screen, and I would like you to take a minute to discuss this scenario with the coach to your right or to your left. Okay, coaches. So at this time, I want to look at some tools that PCA has created to help coaches honor the game. So we like to look at this moment as the moment of truth when it comes to double goal coaches. You know, what are you going to do when you find yourself in a predicament? So one of the most effective ways for players to learn how to honor the game is definitely through us modeling it as coaches. You know, we're setting an example for our kids. You know, we're modeling what right looks like. So just keep that in mind. And it's important as a coach that you introduce honoring the game early in the season and that you keep going back to it throughout the season as well. You know, PCA wants to encourage coaches to develop and practice a self-control routine, which is nothing more than something that you do to prevent yourself from acting out, basically. You know, you want to have some kind of routine that kind of takes you out of the moment for a couple seconds so you don't do or say something that you would regret as a coach. You know, and when you think about it, sometimes this is sometimes when you're honoring the game and in respect to officials, you know, parents might view, or even coaches might view it as a lack of knowledge on your part as a coach. You know, sometimes it's difficult when you have a coach that you're competing against and that he's just giving it to the rep and you're the quiet coach. You know, people might think, well, you might not know the rules, but that's not the case. At the end of the day, coaches, you want to always set the example and do what's right and honor the game, regardless of what the other coaches might be doing. You know, the Honoring the Game toolkit also has tools that coaches can use to help parents honor the game, which is important. We as coaches, we realize that a lot of parents might be living out their dreams through their kids. So it's important that the parents know as well. And I think it's important that you iterate that at the beginning of the season with the parents as well as the kids. And that, if there's a situation that happens during a game, that at the end of the game, that you also go back over and you let the team know or let the parents know why you took the stance that you took. Coaches, do any of you have a great self-control routine that you have right now in place that you'd like to share with our group?
I always drink water.
Okay.
I always have like a water bottle with me, and if I'm ever feeling myself getting excited, I'll just like take a big, long drink of water. I'll take a walk away for a minute, take a deep breath.
Absolutely.
But I used to just take deep breaths, and then my team learned that when coach is taking a deep breath, it means she's mad. I had a little girl say that, like, don't go near coach. She's deep. She's breathing really heavy. That means she's mad. And I was like, no, I'm trying to calm myself down.
Wow.
So I had to change it. I had to change my self-control routine.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, Coach. Mm-hmm. When it comes to culture, is culture important?
Yeah.
Okay. And at the end of the day, culture is nothing more than the way we do things here. So honor the game just doesn't happen, given the win it all mentality that currently exists in society, So we're here at PCA. We're asking you, coaches, we're asking you to be a part of this movement where you're creating a culture and you're creating the right culture for your team. Because at the end of the day, coaches, your team is going to have a culture. It's just a matter, is it going to have the one that you want as the coach? So at this time, coaches, I'd like to play this video. I want us to hear what Julie Foudy says about the culture of the national soccer team that she captained. Mm-hmm. Playing the video. The video is ended. High-performing teams like the World Cup championship team, they know how important it is to intentionally shape the culture of their team. And I think you as coaches know that as well. Culture is important for every team. Coaches, now I want to emphasize 3 main takeaways from tonight's workshop that I'd like you to hopefully keep in your mind as you leave and go back to coaching your teams. But at the end of the day, coaches, we all realize that athletes need to feel connected before they would commit. I think that makes a lot of sense, and I think that's people understand that when you say that, you know, at the end of the day, the way that we get to that is by relentlessly filling the emotional tank. That's what's going to connect your players with you as a coach. And at the end of the day, this is the foundation. You know, athletes need to believe that they can get better. You know, these kids come out here, they put in their time when they're away from the game, they practice on their own. And at the end of the day, they want to get better. You know, so it's important for us to emphasize effort, learning, and that mistakes are okay. Athletes feel proud about acting with integrity. You know, kids want to do the right thing. You know, it's amazing how honesty plays a major role. And as young as these kids are, they're honest, you know, and they wanna win the right way. You know, how can you feel good about a win that you know you didn't win with integrity? So which tools, based on these tools that I currently have up on the slide, coaches, do you think would currently help your team?
I really like when you were talking about the winner circle. I think that's something that's pretty easy to do, and I don't do it. I kind of, at the end of a game, I sort of just talk about the game and talk about certain things that went well, but I never thought to get my players to talk, like give each other compliments and notice things about each other. So I think that's something that would really help my team a lot. I think they'd enjoy that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Coach. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, coaches, what is the one thing most coaches can do to be more effective? What can we do as coaches to be more effective?
I think you said be more positive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, we do that. We achieve that by increasing our ratio, which is 5. The magic ratio is 5-to-1. So you just want to, you know, the relentless feeling of emotional tanks, coaches, you just want to continue to do that. And through doing that, I think you will see great things happen in your players and with your team. So at the end of the day, coaches, you know, this workshop, you know, we provide you with an excellent resource, which is this book. And this book is a very easy read. So coaches, I just want to encourage you that when you leave the workshop, that you take time out, take time out between your work day or when you're at home and relaxing, and just take an opportunity to read this book. This is a great reference tool. And I think that if you read it, you'll find yourself, as you continue to coach, referring back to this book for tools that will just help you to be a better coach.
All right.
So coaches, other resource that we have is the weekly talking points. And just by you signing in today, you're automatically enrolled. So you will be a part of this. This is another great resource that PCA provides to coaches. And, you know, lastly, coaches, I want to introduce you to this website, the PCA Dev Zone. This is another great resource that we offer here at PCA. And more importantly, coaches, I just want to thank you for your commitment to your teams, and thank you for taking the time out tonight to come out and be a participant in this workshop. So coaches, if you would, before you leave tonight, if you would complete the evaluation on page 71, I would greatly appreciate that, and turn it into the signing desk. So coaches, at the beginning of the workshop, you know, I put the number that you needed to text so you could get credit for tonight's event. So I'm gonna put that slide back up for anybody that did not get an opportunity to do that. And the last thing I'd just like to leave you coaches with is that today is just the beginning, you know, of resources and tools that are available to you. Tonight is just the beginning, and please take advantage of these resources that have been created just for you. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Scott. You knew your stuff on that one. I could tell. That was smooth. That was like boom, 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 bam, 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 bam. That was good. That was short too. That was like 13 minutes, which realistically, I'm going to be honest with you here. A lot of times, many trainers spend a lot of time on the other two principles. They spend too much time on the intro, too much time on emotional tank, too much time on Elm Tree of Mastery, and they end up with 15 minutes at the end of a workshop to do honoring the game and the whole, you know, closing culture piece. So What you just did was, I think, a really good example of kind of a rushed honoring the game.
Yeah.
To be honest with you. Which again is a good tool to have in your pocket, because I think it's good to be able to get through and hit every point and go pretty quickly, because you might be crunched for time at the end. I did a workshop about a month ago, and halfway through the workshop, the guy comes over to me and says, "I'm really sorry. I just found out that they need this room in 15 minutes. Can you finish up this workshop?" And I was like planning on having like half hour to 45 minutes left. And he told me I had to finish in 15. So what you just did is a great skill to have, to know that. What I would like to see more of for this principle, especially, is really having the coaches think and challenge them to where they don't honor the game, or where they don't teach honoring the game to their players.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of things I think that come up in this workshop. And I can show you what I'm talking about. But there's a lot of things that come up in this principle, especially, that the kid or the coach, I'm going to screen share so you can see what I'm talking about. Hold on a sec. Here we go. You're not gonna be able to see me, but you're gonna be able to see the screen. Okay. There's a lot of things that come up in this principle, that a lot of the coaches just think, well, honoring the game is just the right thing to do, so that's why we're doing it. And what they don't think about is what results from kids not honoring the game, and why it's our job to teach honoring the game. So I think you did a really good job at going through each of these quickly: the rules, opponents, officials, teammates, self. You had some good little information in there. You had it all in there. But how do you know which ones, the coaches that are in the room with you, how do you know which ones are hardest for them? You know, how do you know how to kind of turn the conversation if you're not really sure which one's hard for me?
Right. So I should ask them.
Yeah. I mean, when I do this part of the workshop, and you don't have to do it this way, but one of the things I like to do is I bring in cards that have ROOTS on them, and I tape them around the room. And at this point in the workshop, I go through real quick what they are: rules, opponents, officials, teammates, and self. And then I say, okay, I want everybody to stand up, and I want you to go to the card, go to the one, ROOTS, that's most challenging for you as a coach.
Okay.
Which one's most challenging for you to respect as a coach? And when you get there, I want you to talk to your group about why that is so difficult. And they all stand up and they go to that part of the room that has officials or teammates or self. And then I'll say, okay, one person from each group share why that's so hard. And I'll just go around the group, and they'll share. The rules group will share one. The opponents group will share one. And sometimes I even say, I'll say, okay, pick a spokesperson to share for your group what your group came up with. Or I'll say, okay, everybody pick to the person that you want to share for your group. Everybody points to the person that they want to share. But then I might say, okay, now that's for you as a coach. Now I want you to move to the area in the room of the one that's most challenging for your players to respect. And then they move. So we've got two different sides here. Which one's hard for you as a coach? And then which one's hard for your players? And the cool thing is that when you get to the one that's hard for the players, then the group can talk about, okay, how do you teach that? How do you teach your players to be respectful of opponents? How do you teach players to be respectful of teammates? How do you teach the players to be respectful of the rules? So they're in a group of, 3 or 4 or 5 or 10, depending on how many people are there. And they have an opportunity to work as a group to come up with teaching moments that they can put into their practice and share ideas. I've also asked them, okay, go to the part of the room for the one that is strongest for you. Which one is your team really good at? And that is a really great sharing moment. I've had groups go to the one that says officials. And this was years ago. One of the coaches said that I bought an officials jersey. And every practice, I throw the officials jersey on one of the kids. And so the kids get to officiate the scrimmage at the end of every practice. And he said, usually I pick my most obnoxious kid, or the kid that's got the worst mouth on him, the kid that is most disrespectful of officials. And I let them see how hard it is to officiate. And I thought, that's something I never would have thought of. It's something I never did. But after that, I started doing it. And I thought it was a great opportunity for that guy to share, this is how I teach respect for officials.
Okay.
I had another coach that told me one time that what he does is 2 weeks into the season or 3 weeks into the season, he'll show up a half hour late for practice one day just to watch. He'll pull up in his car where the kids can't see him, and he'll just watch his players and see what they do when he's not there. And he said he was a female soccer coach. I mean, he coached girls soccer. And he said, it's amazing to me when I look out on the field with them not knowing I'm there, thinking coach didn't show up, which kids are actually warming up which kids are doing drills. It's 3 weeks into the season. They know what they should be doing. Which leaders have said, hey guys, this is what we're doing. And which kids are just screwing around. And he said, that comes down to respect for self. And then he shows up and he has a talk with the team about, hey, I'm sorry I'm late, but let me hear what was been going on for the past 20 minutes. And then he was watching these players. He was watching the ones screwing around, and they're like, oh no, coach, we were doing drills. He's like, that just taught me a lot about themselves, So I'm just saying, Scott, like if you give an opportunity for the coaches to share their struggles and their triumphs, that really helps generate a cool discussion for you. It takes the pressure off of you to have all the answers, and it makes it coach centered, not content centered. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that would be something I tried. The other thing I've seen done, and I'll show you this, you kind of went real quick through the scenario. Why do you think we put the scenarios in these workshops?
It gives so people can get up, move around, and maybe wake themselves up, and also just to get the coaches to like interact with other coaches.
Yeah, well, that's true too. I mean, that's all good stuff. But it's really also supposed to be to get the coaches to think about how they would handle this.
Absolutely.
So that we can then get a bunch of answers from them on how they handle it. And then we show them the tools and say, well, this is how we handle it. This is how we suggest you handle it. So it can confirm for a lot of coaches that they're doing things right.
Got it.
But it's also a way for the coaches to get valued, to get reinforced by, guess what? You're doing the right thing, because a lot of coaches will say, oh, I try to take a deep breath. I try to walk away. And then you can say, well, that's called a self-control routine. And that's one of our tools that we're going to talk about. So it validates them. It makes them feel like, yeah, you're right. I'm doing the right thing. But another way to use it is this, and I've seen this done really effectively. So here's the scenario. Okay, we want this to be real for you. We want to make the principle of honoring the game, we want to make it real, and we want to bring it down to your team. An opposing coach has been riding the refs the entire game. Seems to be working. Now, in the final moments of a close game, the official makes a horrible call against your team. What can you do? And I've seen trainers do this. They say, what can you do as a double goal coach? Because now this is the end of the workshop, remember. So they already know what it means to be a double goal coach.
Right.
What can you do as a double goal coach to respect the rules, the opponents, the officials, the teammates, and yourself? And so what they've done is told like different groups of people, okay, you 5 right here, I want you to talk for a couple minutes on how you would handle this scenario with respect to the rules of the game. You 5 over here, I want you to think about how you would respect the officials. I want this group over here to think, how would you respect the opponents by your actions? How would this group respect teammates? And how would this group teach self-respect using this scenario? So they actually use this scenario as a teaching tool, and they bring out the ROOTS, all those areas of honoring the game. And the coaches are literally using the principle to teach the principle.
Absolutely.
So it's another really cool way to use the scenario. And I just wanted to give you that idea also.
Okay. So let me ask you this. So on the first thing you did with the cards, I mean, how much time do you take for that?
It takes a little bit of time. I don't know if you got a chance to watch the video. I think I put it on one of the first assignments, one of the first resource pages for the course. There was a video of me doing that whole workshop. You can see, if you scroll to the end, you can see me do that activity. Okay. And I would say it probably takes a good, 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. But I use that I keep them in that group. So when I do that, I have them in there, all over the room with ROOTS. Then what I do is I keep them in those groups, and we talk about the scenario in those groups. So I don't sit them back down again. I just have them stay there. Got you. And they talk about the scenario. And then what I might have them do is, okay, now let's talk about how do we do this? So there's just a lot of different things you can do. Can somebody give me an example of a self-control routine you would use? And they're standing up in the room. They might be standing next to the T sign, but show me what you would do. This group over here, show me what you would do. Now, can I have a volunteer that can be a coach and actually use narrated modeling? What I want you to do is pretend you're talking to your team, and I want you to talk us through what you would actually say out loud to your team if an official had a horrible call against your team that you disagreed with. And right there in front of the whole group, I'll have a coach volunteer, and they'll turn to their, fake team, and they'll say, hey guys, I didn't agree with that call. It was questionable. The ref might have not had a good vantage point to be able to see that, but we've got to respect the official. We're going to move on to the next play, And then as a whole group, the whole group can say, yeah, I really like the way you said that. This was really good. Or the whole group, might say, okay, anybody disagree with anything he said? And I did this a couple weeks ago, and I had the coach that was pretending to do narrative modeling say, you know what, guys, the coach made a bad call and we just have to move on. And so when I asked the group, I said, what'd you guys think about that? And I had a coach go, I don't think it's right to tell the kids that an official made a bad call. The official made the best call they could at the time. Maybe he should have used the word questionable call, or a call I didn't agree with, or a call I didn't understand. But, again, it brought up a good point. I didn't have to initiate that. Another coach in the room said, wait, I don't know if we should call it a bad call. That's not really respectful. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's something that I never would have thought of myself, but it came up in conversation. So the other thing too, with the parent tools, I think I like to actually have them open up their book to page 49.
Okay.
Because there's so many coaches that, so many coaches that say the parents are their biggest issue. When you ask them, I always ask at the beginning of a workshop, what are your biggest challenges? And they always say parents. So I have them, okay, and you won't have a book at every single workshop, but I guess I can stop this now. But I have them take out their books, open up your books to page 49. I want you to see where some of these resources are. And they'll look, and it says right at the bottom, tools to help parents honor the game. And I'll say, okay, can somebody read number 1 for me? And they'll say, set expectations with a parent meeting. Right. How many of you have a parent meeting? Everybody raises their hand. How many of you have a parent meeting where you talk about expectations for parent behavior? And they're like, no, I don't. Most parent meetings are practices this time, make sure your kid's on time, blah, blah, blah. You don't actually talk at your parent meeting about how you expect the parents to behave in the stands.
Right.
Can somebody read number 2 on page 50? Yes, somebody will read. Appoint a culture keeper. What's a culture keeper? Who knows what that means? Well, I'll tell you what a culture keeper is. A culture keeper is a volunteer parent whose job is to keep the parents in the stands in line. And one of the ways we do that, and I bring a bag of lollipops, we call these parent pops. Parent pop is held by the culture keeper. And if somebody's getting mouthy in the stands, guess what? The culture keeper's job is to give a parent pop to the, and I tell them, I buy a bag of dum-dums, lollipops, pun intended. They're called dum-dums. They cost $1.28.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah. Have them read number 3. Cue parents before high state games. Have somebody read number 4, number 5. So, you're not going into the whole paragraph, but right. You're showing them where it is, and you're giving them a quick, this is what this means. This is what that means. And you have it in your book to read more details on how to use it.
Right.
So that's what I do for the parent tools, so that so they know that there's really good resources. And then also when you get to the end of it, when you're talking about culture creation, you did a great job with this, Scott. I thought everything you said was strong for this. And you said, your team's going to have a culture. Whether you like it or not, there's going to be a culture. And some of you have probably come, and I also often say, some of you might have come into a team as a coach that already had a culture when you got there. And you realize, wait, this isn't the culture I want. And you've had to totally reprogram the culture. But if you're not intentional about teaching and reinforcing culture, it's going to be dictated by who? And they'll say parents or players. I'm like, yeah. Do you want the culture of your team dictated by a bunch of 12-year-old girls, or do you want it dictated by you, a double goal coach, So, and then also, I liked how you said, how can you feel good about winning a game that, you cheated? I think that those are strong lines. Those are strong words. And coaches are like, you're right. The one question that I like to bring up that just brings up good discussion too, when you're talking about officials and you said, when you're talking about rules, and you said we're talking about respecting the rules, like not bending the rules to win a game. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'll just ask, in your sport specifically, what are some rules that you bend? What are some rules that have been bent to win a game that are considered part of the game? It's just, and you'll get some answers from that. And you might get some answers, Scott, in sports you don't even know. And I've heard it's okay if you're elbowing somebody in cross country to get a better position. Yeah. Well, is it? Is that part of the sport? My daughter ran cross country. She's not padded. She's not wearing pads and shoulder pads and chest protectors. And you as a coach are teaching that it's okay to elbow somebody to get in a better position. So things like that can just spark discussion because coaches think, well, it's just what's done. That's just what you do. But really, that's not integrity. That's not playing the game the right way. And if you're teaching kids at 8 years old, what's going to happen when they're 18?
I would tell you honestly that I struggle with that. And what I mean by that, I don't teach that. You know, I'm coaching basketball right now. I don't teach elbowing. And I played a couple teams last year where I really felt that the coach must be teaching these kids that, because my final game was like my roughest game of the season. And I was just amazed at how much they were doing. And I'm like, I was shocked. You know what I'm saying? Because I just teach the kids to play hard, and I'm big on defense. So my big thing in basketball is playing defense. But I'm amazed that when I play teams, you know, when it comes to basketball, how much of that is it looks like it's being taught to kids at a young age.
It probably is. I'm sure it is. And I coach youth lacrosse. I coach 10-year-old girls in lacrosse, and I've had teams that have like body checked the girls out of the way to get position for the ball on a ground ball. And that's not something a little 10-year-old girl is going to do unless she's told to do it.
Exactly.
You know, so, hey, Ruben, welcome back. So I was telling, you're on mute, but I was telling, and Scott can actually review for you. Scott did a really nice job at honoring the game. He banged it out in 13 minutes. And I said, you know, that's a good skill. And Ruben understands this. It's a good skill to have, to be able to get through honoring the game quickly. But I was just going through some suggestions on how to involve the coaches a lot more in honoring the game and bring out their experience. Because ideally, we don't want you to only do it in 10 minutes. We want you to have, he actually did from honoring the game all the way through to the end of the workshop in 13 minutes.
Yeah. So. Okay. Well, yeah. You know what, though? I think that's an okay place to go to be at, and then build it out from there.
Right.
You know? And Scott, Kelly, can I make a couple comments right now?
Yeah, I was just going to say real quick.
Okay.
I agree with you, Ruben, because one of the things we were working with Scott on before is taking too long. Yeah. So I think you're heading in the right direction by making it shorter, because you can always add on, but you can't make up for lost time once you've already lost it. So
that was my focus point today, because last time you told me 20 minutes, so I rehearsed to keep it under 20 minutes. I didn't tell his stories today.
Well, and Scott, I think there's going to be a time where someone's going to say, "Hey, can you do this workshop in 45 minutes?"
Yeah, right.
And you're going to have to adjust.
Absolutely.
So.
But what we don't want you to sacrifice, though, Scott, is the interaction.
Absolutely.
So just because we want you to do it in a shorter amount of time doesn't mean you don't tell any stories, you don't ask any questions, you don't get people involved, and you just blow through material, because that's not going to be of any value to the coaches. We want them to get something out of it still. We just want you to pick and choose. Maybe don't tell 3 stories, tell 1. Maybe don't have them talk about 3 different questions in groups, pick 1.
Okay.
So. And you'll get it. You'll get it as time goes on. You'll after about 10 workshops, you'll probably go like, all right, now I feel comfortable. Go ahead, Ruben.
Yeah, you know what? I just saw the first part, but I feel like I saw a lot. I mean, I sensed the pace that you were already on, Scott, right off the bat. And I wrote down good pace on routes. And like I said, and then as I was writing that down, I started to write down, break it up at least once with a discussion question. And as I was writing that, you asked us, you started to ask us a question. You asked us about, have any of you had your best player where they're your worst teammate? So you did ask a question, but it didn't turn into any type of discussion or true interaction with us. So you were close to doing that. It was interesting, the timing of your question. You know, Scott, I really sensed progress in your 3 demos. It just you know, and I think maybe the proximity of them time-wise really allowed that progress to stand out all the more. I mean, you just seem so poised and confident today. And I mean, you've always been strong with this, but I just thought today, I go, wow, he's really settled in. Look at him. It was cool to see. Hey, just a couple little things to think about. One is your personal story at the beginning about your daughter's first sports experience.
Right.
I told you I liked that story last time. I liked it again. I like how you did your intro off the cuff with Kelly just saying, you know, I do think at some point a real impactful part of that story is my daughter's first sports experience, and there's a coach and a parent fight. You told us that they fought, but you didn't. Today you didn't relate it to, this was my daughter's first experience. You know, and Scott, you can either do it as part of your intro,
Right.
Or you can come back to it later, maybe in honoring the game. As remember that story I told you at the beginning about my daughter's first sports experience? She's never going to forget that in her first year of playing sports, the coach was fighting with a parent. So I just feel that was a powerful piece that I remembered from last time.
Absolutely.
And then my last little thought is I like the language honor the game. So I use the word honor with honor the game and honoring the game. When it comes to roots, I switch to respect. Respect for the rules, respect for opponents, respect for self. And it's a subtle difference. But I think it works really well. We honor the game and we show respect for the roots. Anyway, little thing.
Absolutely. I got you.
No, that's good. Those little things are good.
Scott, I kind of was bummed that I had to jump off because I thought you were off to such a great start there.
Yeah, he was smooth. He was smooth. I'd say he's smooth and knows his stuff. And I mean, if you compare this to the first demo that you did, Scott, it's like, who is this guy? Like, it was awesome. And again, having it be less time is a plus in your column because you have a tendency to go over. So I'm not concerned at all. Sorry, my power just went out. That's why I had to switch over to my phone here. There's like 40-mile-an-hour winds here. Oh, so wow. I just lost power. So sorry. And it says it's still recording. So I don't know how to stop the recording if I have no internet. So this could be a 5-hour recording for this phone call. But no, Scott, I'm really excited. And I think you've gotten as far as you need to get with these video demos. And I think the best thing for you to do is get out in front of people. So congratulations. I'm excited for you. You're considered an associate trainer and we will plug you in. Yeah. In San Antonio, in Central Texas right now, most of the workshops they're doing are for the San Antonio Spurs. And it's this huge block of workshops that are not for this workshop. It's the Double Goal Coach 2 workshop, which gets into culture, practices, and games. However, the beginning of that workshop is a review of all the principles. So we actually just had an associate trainer go out last night and do one of the San Antonio Spurs workshops. And she did the whole intro part that was kind of the review of all 3 principles and then passed it over to the certified trainer to do the rest of it. So if you're available for any of those, I'll send you the list of all the workshops in where do you live exactly? Do you live closer to
I live on Randolph Air Force Base.
Okay.
So,
I don't know where that is, but
yeah.
Okay. I'll send you, don't go driving 3 hours out of your way.
Right.
This is, you're not going to get paid for these co-facilitations. You don't get paid until you start doing them by yourself, but it is good for you. If it's within driving distance and it's a good opportunity for you and you don't mind putting in a little extra work to learn the new workshop, the format of the new workshop, it'd be great to get you out there. Okay.
Absolutely. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward. I mean, I definitely wanted to hear what you had to say. I wanted to be an associate trainer, so I'm happy about that.
Good. We're happy too. We're excited. And I'll send this, I will send this video to Trennis and Spencer. And I'm excited for you. So
when you said learn the new format, so is there another course that you're going to sign me up for that I can start?
No, it's not. Okay. So moving on from here, you are to do this workshop, which is called Double Goal Coach, Coaching for Winning in Life Lessons. This is the standard baseline workshop.
Okay.
If you want to get certified to do additional workshops, because we have workshops for parents and we have workshops for athletes, we have coach workshops, we have a deep dive into emotional tank, we have a deep dive into mastery, we have a honoring the game workshop. We have about 6 different coach workshops that we do. If you see a workshop in your area and you say, hey, I want to do that one, but I'm not certified to do that one yet, you would let Sonia know, who I'm going to introduce you to through an email.
Okay.
She'll reach out to myself. She'll reach out to me and Joe and Ruben and say, Scott wants to do this workshop. Can we get him certified? And it does require extra prep work. It's not a full course.
Right.
Sometimes it's watching a video, like a Google Hangout video where I do a training on how to do the workshop. Sometimes it might be an actual video of a trainer doing that workshop. A lot of times it's downloading the PowerPoint. Sometimes they come with a different book. So you might have to read a different